What I've gathered is the kids, especially kids who are uneducated about it, think that it's okay because it's not a cigarette.
Man, after a long day of work, I'm really gonna need something to take off the edge. This should do the trick.
Big Name Cigarette, the clean menthol cigarette trusted by millions of hard-working, red-blooded Americans to relax after a long day of work. Pick up a pack today at your trusted local general store. Big Name Cigarette will take your breath away.
In the arms of the angel, fly away from here, from this dark cold.
Unfortunately, this farmer's story is not rare, as told by millions of Americans since the 20s. At their peak consumption rate in 1945, 12 cigarettes were being produced in a day per US adult male. A 1948 survey concluded that 82% of American men and 44% of American women were regular smokers. At this time, 1 in 5 people died due to cigarettes, and the people took notice, and the tobacco business plummeted. In 1990, tobacco companies invented and branded e-cigarettes, which promised the full smoking experience tobacco-free. They were released in China and quickly made their way into the US in following years. Initially, the e-cigarettes looked only like actual cigarettes, but by 2010, customization began gaining traction, and the term vaping was coined in place of e-cig. In the 8 years since then, legal battles have been fought, regulations have been placed, and more customizations are available. Vapes have spiraled into their own market almost entirely separate from tobacco, and show no signs of slowing down. You see, vaping is just the next generation of smoking. And just like smoking in the early 1900s, it's not entirely understood. But just how educated are the people of Wellington in vapes? We interviewed high school and middle school staff to find out.
How safe do you think it is to vape?
You know what, Chris, I actually have no idea because I'm not familiar with it. I don't do it. I've never smoked. I really, truly have no idea. But again, similar to what I said earlier, I'm sure the consequences and health side effects are going to be similar to those of smoking, if not worse, because what I've learned so far is that the nicotine that goes into some of those vape pens can be far more potent than nicotine in a cigarette.
How safe do you think it is to vape?
How safe?
Yep.
It depends on whether you use nicotine or not, and I do both, so it's kind of a in between.
How safe do you think it is to vape?
Very safe.
How safe do you think it is to vape?
It's not safe at all. The poison and the addictive nicotine is still the same. You're just not getting as many, and I say that with quotes, carcinogens that you would if you smoked a cigarette or another type of tobacco product.
How safe do you think it is to vape?
I've never vaped, but I do know people who do it, and I don't know. That's a hard one to answer. I suppose in moderation, if you're doing it within the legal, doing it legally. I don't know, what are the laws on it? What is it? Is there an age to vaping?
Yeah, you have to be 18.
18?
Mm-hmm.
So anyone here who's doing it is doing it illegally. Well, plus it's against
Yeah.
school code, so.
Yeah.
But your question is like safe as in physically? Is it safe for the body?
Yeah, for your body.
The way I see that is anytime you're inhaling anything in your body, it can't be good for you.
How safe do you think it is to vape?
Well, that's another thing. Honestly, there are members of my family that have smoked in the past and did, in fact, use a vape for a short time. However, I know that there has not been a lot of research in regards to the, is it actually safer, or could it possibly even be more dangerous? So I think there's, isn't there something in regards to like making their lungs spongy or something like that? But I think I'm not really convinced that it's any safer, to be honest with you.
How has vaping impacted you or your classroom?
Well, I think about 2 years ago, I had a student that was in my classroom, and the other students went to the office and said he was vaping in my class. I never saw it. So I think that I've been kind of wary of that, because it's something that I always thought that, it's very obvious, because I know that they've changed the vapes and they've become more and more able to, hide and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's just something that it really has no place, especially inside the classroom. So I'm always wary.
Do you think vaping could lead to other habits?
Sure. I don't see why not. Does that mean everybody is it like a gateway behavior? Not for everybody, for some, but I'm sure some not.
Do you think vaping could lead to other habits?
Yeah, possibly. I can't, I don't have any proof of that being a fact, but I think that, there's been some situations in the high school where, you've seen it, where instead of the vaping liquid or whatever it is, they're putting THC oil in there and things of that nature. So, it can, but I think regardless, I don't think vaping itself is any more of a threat to causing an addiction than a cigarette would be, or if you start smoking marijuana and use it as that, gateway drug.
Yeah.
I think it's just as things progress with time, it's just different methods of the same thing.
Do you think vaping could lead to other habits? Maybe. It probably will. Do you think vaping has become a problem here at school?
It's a good question, because there have been kids that have gotten caught and suspended for it. When I've asked some kids their opinion, as a student, is this an issue? And I've had students tell me, yeah, absolutely, it's an issue here. So I guess I'm going to have to just err on the side of those kids that are out and about in the general public with the rest of the student body, and if they see it as an issue, then I see it as an issue.
Have you had any issues with kids vaping at the middle school?
Yeah, we have actually. We've had 3 incidents this year, 8th graders in the bathroom vaping. All 3 occasions had 2 of the same kids, and then different kids mixed with those 2 throughout.
To get some inside information on vaping, we also surveyed over 80 people online to find out some interesting information. We found that only 23% of active vapers are under the age of 25, that most had started in the past 3 years, and a vast majority had used multiple vapes daily, along with all this other information. But here's the stats that matter. 68% said that vaping helped them quit smoking, and that if it weren't for vapes, they'd still be smoking. So clearly Wellington staff are highly against vaping, and the internet is highly for vaping. But where is the middle ground, and where is the truth? Well, the truth is that vaping is 100% a safer alternative to smoking. But it's not completely safe itself. The carcinogen count in vape juice is significantly lower, and short-term effects seem to be much more mild when compared to cigarettes. But there's a lot we don't know, and that means a lot we can't prove to not be dangerous. While it's speculated that secondhand vapor could be harmless, and that long-term effects are almost non-existent, it's also speculated the exact opposite. Until the FDA can truly tell us what's in vape juice, we may just never know. Obviously, vaping has risks and health effects. I don't think anyone who has done more than a 5-minute Google search would tell you otherwise unless they're incredibly ignorant. But what we need to look at instead is how much safer it is compared to the alternative, which is tobacco. And for some people, that's a bright enough upside to swap over to the supporting side. Others see it as just another smoking product that in the future will prove to be just as dangerous. But what side are you on?
Wait for that car. It's recording. It's recording. When should I blow the car? When you were standing where you were. Alright. It's recording. Go.